Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Wednesday, the 29th of December, 2022. And today is Wisdom Wednesday, and I wanted to share with you some wisdom from a life experience that I've just recently had. So, all of us have fears. Some of us have fears of missing out. And this fear of missing out really kicked in for me this week. I had this fear of missing out, and it was all caught up in a fear of getting hurt. Now, what I'd ask you to do is, before we begin, I want you to say hello in the chat box and type in the word fear. Type in the word fear into the chat box. If you're joining me live, type in fear. If you're joining me on the replay, type in fear, just so you remember this story and the wisdom that I'm about to share with you. So let me set the scene. Yesterday, I was with my personal trainer, and I was having my personal training session, and we're working on my thighs and my hips. Now, I've had hip problems for 41 years, and it's taken me 41 years to figure out this hip problem. And finally, after 41 years, I've figured out how to squat properly. I've started to work on the muscles in my legs, in my thighs, in my back, in my buttocks, and my hip problems have disappeared after 41 years. This is magical for me. And this week, I had a bit of a frightening experience. Yesterday, I was on the Pilates reformer machine, and my personal trainer had me doing an exercise. And when I was doing this exercise, I had this picture in my mind that I was going to get hurt. I could see myself hurting myself on this Pilates reformer machine. And instead of focusing on the exercise that I was doing, I started to imagine myself falling over, overextending myself, and hurting my knee. And I was saying to myself, this is going to hurt. I'm seeing myself getting injured. And I started to bring up all these fears from the past. Now, from the age of 18 through to 19, I had two major knee surgeries. I was in and out of hospital and rehabilitation for 2 years. And I thought that fear had left the body. But after 21 years, boom, it came back, and I started to have this fear. I started to fear injuring myself. I started to fear making a mistake on the machine. And I had this fear of missing out. And I started to think, if I have an accident now, I'm going to miss out on so much good stuff because I'll have to have another operation. My hips won't be working again. My knees won't be working properly again. And I started to feel that fear. Now, it was quite debilitating for me. What I noticed immediately was I noticed that my legs started to shake. My legs were shaking. I could feel it. My thighs were shaking. My energy was zapped all of a sudden. And I could only do about 3 reps. So I became very aware. Now, the first thing that we have to do when it comes to emotional intelligence is we have to become aware of our fears. Sometimes we don't know what the exact fear is, but there's a certain feeling in the body, and we say, oh, what's going on here? Now, when you experience a fear, that emotion only stays in your body, that feeling stays in your body for about 4 to 30 seconds. That's it. Only between about 4 and 30 seconds is you're going to feel that fear in the body. And so I could feel my legs shaking. I could feel my energy was drained really fast. So after we become aware of these fears, the second thing that we have to do is we have to be able to regulate them. Now, I know with everything that I know, if I gave into that fear, the fear would end up controlling me. You've heard the old saying before, you got to get back on the horse. You got to get back on the bike. If you fall down, you got to get back up. And that was going through my mind. And so what I did was I took a time out. I said to my trainer, I need to take a time out. My energy's gone and I just need to reset. So I took a breather, I had a time out, and I sat down. And then I started to refocus. Now, what happens is your mind can either hold negative thoughts or positive thoughts in consciousness. You can only hold a fear-based thought or a desire-based thought. However, these fear-based thoughts are 2.5 times more powerful than the desire thoughts. If you have one negative emotion, it takes 4 positive emotions to cancel out that one negative emotion. So I knew I had to be able to break through that fear, before I went on to doing the exercise. If I was trying to do the exercise with the fear present in the body, it would probably lead to a mistake. So I regulated. I had a timeout. I set out. I refocused. I thought about what I was doing. I started to imagine myself in my mind successfully doing the exercise. And instead of trying to do 10, I just reduced those repetitions down to what I felt comfortable. Once I mastered that fear, I completed my exercise and started to feel a lot better. Now, I was feeling better in that moment. However, today, Wednesday, I have my coaching session with my coach. I have a coach. I meet with my coach every 2 weeks, and I'm always working on my mindset. So I said to my coach today, I had this fear yesterday. It was this fear of missing out, fear that I was going to get hurt, then I was going to miss out on so many things. There was limiting decisions. Can I do this? Am I going to get injured? There was limiting beliefs. I don't think I've got what it takes. Maybe I should take a break. And so I had to face those fears. And what I'm saying to you today on Wisdom Wednesday is that, yes, you have to face your fears. Yes, it's okay to have a timeout. Sometimes you've just got to take a timeout. Sometimes you just have to breathe and step away from what you're doing and reset. Anything that it takes to regulate that emotion, any strategy that you have in the moment, it's better than using no strategy at all. Even if it's just having a breather, even if it's taking a time out, and then when you're with your coach, then work on the mind, because it's really important. Remember this. Your thoughts influence 95% of your feelings. These fears are triggered by irrational thoughts inside of your mind. Once those irrational thoughts impact your feelings, then it changes your behaviors. Now, a behavior at the gym, if you are doing an exercise incorrectly, you could get hurt because of the fear. Maybe your body's not relaxed enough. Maybe it's too tight. Maybe you overcompensate. So what you've got to do is you've got to get back in control of those thoughts. You've heard me say it before. Change your thinking. Change your life. So this is Wisdom Wednesday. What I want you to do now, I want you to type in #Wisdom Wednesday in the chat box. If you like this content, give me a thumbs up. If you thought it sucked, give me a thumbs down. And if somebody else should hear this right now, hit that share button and let them hear this message. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Ciao for now.